week's look at the continent's budding startups in the Multi-Choice Africa Accelerator Program, we turn our attention to Senegal's Continental Financial Services, founded in the West African nation, but now with a footprint in the Gambia and Cote d'Ivoire. The budding business aims to grow its clientele to 100,000 in the next few months. Earlier, I was in conversation with Continental Financial Services co-founder and Chief Executive Officer, Bernie Akbaraya. Let's take a look. Bernie, it's great to have you on Africa Today. Talk to us about your involvement in the Africa Accelerator Program, with particular emphasis on how Continental got involved.
Yes, so first of all, I think I've done this now for about I've been involved for a couple of months or so, and the whole experience has been truly amazing. And the way we got involved was somebody reached out to us, somebody in my network, actually an investment advisory company that's helping us raise funding, reached out to us and introduced us to the Multi-Choice Accelerator Program. And I have to be honest, at first I was like, oh, yet another accelerator program. I really was not convinced about doing it. They had to really convince me. But it was one of the best things I've ever done. It's been truly amazing.
Well, let's talk about amazing. What does amazing mean for you? Because obviously there have been a number of accelerator programs, as you've said, that have come your way, and I'd imagine from what you've said you've declined many of those. So what for you was the key differentiator with the Africa Accelerator Program?
So a friend of mine put it really, really succinctly yesterday, actually. I was having this conversation with him yesterday. And we decided the key thing about an accelerator program is really simple. Don't waste the entrepreneur's time. That should be the goal of every accelerator with you too. And that's what made this very successful was I felt that all my interactions were fruitful, were purposeful. And we were doing things not just to go through a program, but we were doing things because they were going to add real value to what we did as a company. So it really gave me an opportunity to look deep into what we did as a company, what were we not doing so much, and hear other views on how other people did the kind of stuff we did. Even if they were not exactly in the same space, but different approaches people took to different issues like revenue generation, customer acquisition, that kind of stuff. And it was a great learning experience for me.
So let's talk about what you do. You're in the financial savings space. Give us some insights into how your company actually works.
Yes, so what we say is we provide access to small loans and a range of financial services like insurance, savings, that kind of stuff, to financially excluded, mostly women in Africa. And if we think about the problem we're trying to solve is you have, 300 million women in Africa who don't have access to basic financial services like small loans and insurance, especially in the rural areas. You then have this problem compounded by the fact that, especially in our region, the financial services providers, the banks, the MFIs, and so on, cannot easily provide services to these women for reasons such as products that are not built for the women, branches that are far away from the women, business models that don't work for them, so they don't feel it's they're generating enough revenue. They see these women as high risk, low value customers. And on the other side of the equation, the women cannot easily consume products from their financial services providers for reasons such as low literacy levels, poorly designed products, deep distrust of these financial institutions, and so on and so forth. So what we do is we build this platform. It's an end-to-end digital financial service platform. We call this term financial inclusion as a service. And the idea is we bring these two parties together on the platform. For the women, we digitize their savings groups. These are savings groups used throughout Africa. They call them stock bells in South Africa.
Yes, they do. You did your homework.
Exactly. We call them tontines here in French. We call tontines in French. So we bring this women onto our platform. We digitize the savings groups, and then we credit score them so they can be eligible for financial services from our financial services providers partners. And from the point of view of our financial services partners, we give them a whole range of tools to enable them to serve this woman. So tools like digital identities, electronic signatures, credit scoring, women-intended credit products, and so on and so forth. So they can deliver the services via our platform directly to the mobile wallets of a woman in the savings group. So that's what we do. And I think one of the things we're looking to raise money for as part of this program is we've realized that there is a deeper problem as well. There's another layer of complexity, which is the last mile delivery. So even when you get a financial service provider that says, yes, I'm willing to lend to this woman, they're not willing to do that ugly work of going into the field, digitizing the woman, having an agent go to her village, get the money from her, cash in the money from her, cash out the money from her. So that's another layer of complexity. And the way we're trying to solve that is to make the leaders of these savings groups agents, right? Field agents themselves. So that way, number one, they do the last mile delivery, they enroll their women themselves, but they also earn money doing that as being agents of either the mobile money provider or the bank itself. So that's what we do as a company.
Now, the one thing that you raise is the issue of trust, and obviously the ability of these clients, these women, to pay back. Now, how have you bridged that gap? Because obviously the other financial institutions that you speak of thought that they weren't worth banking, if you will, but you've obviously realized that there is potential and have built your business around it. So how have you navigated that terrain, if you will?
Fantastic. So it's a good question. I mean, a lot of the financial, and again, one of the things when we talk about Africa, it's always super important for people who are not used to working in Africa, is Africa is very different from region to region. So some of the problems we face in West Africa are different from some of the problems my counterparts will face in Southern Africa. Some of the problems my Anglophone peers will face in West Africa are different from some of the problems I would face as a Francophone company in West Africa. So Africa is very, very diverse with very diverse challenges. And so to talk about in terms of value, we estimate that there are about $11 billion annually in this traditional savings group. There's actually accurate figures from South Africa that estimates there are about $2 billion annually in stock belts in South Africa. So it's a really big market. Another opportunity there for FSPs, financial services providers, is the fact that in most of our countries, they're only serving 20-30% of the population, right? The so-called middle class, right? And you have all of these women, all of these excluded people outside in the rural areas who don't have access to financial services, but could be really valuable, consistent, long-term customers if you have the right products for them. So the way we bridge this gap, first of all, is by designing the right products for the women, right? In these rural areas where we normally work with, they don't have smartphones, so you can't do that sexy fintech-y kind of solution where everybody jumps on a smartphone and onboards themselves and do all that kind of sexy stuff. You can't do that with these rural women. So we actually build using human-centered design specific products for what we call women-intended products that fit into the customer journey of these women's groups. And so all our women need to worry about is how do I send money and how do I receive money, right? They don't have to worry about any of the back-end stuff around credit scoring and digital identities and all of that stuff. We take care of all of that stuff in the back end. And in terms of products, we design products that are based around the behavior and rules of a savings group, of a tontine. And another thing that's super important is that we involve the community in that process. So we have this concept that we call phygital. Phygital is a combination of physical and digital, right? So the digital aspect is all the technology that goes on the back end. The physical aspect is involving and building communities of these women themselves, right? So that these women serve the communities, the trusted advisors to the groups, and the last mile distributors of that group. And by involving them in that whole process, you build that trust that a typical bank would not normally build with those communities.
That kind of paves way into my next question. And we talked about, I suppose, not so much there being a lack of trust between the women and the financial institutions, but obviously they don't trust them to be able to pay back. But on the inverse side is a process where you're expected, well, certainly if you want your business to flourish, to build trust with these women, many of whom are total strangers. How have you navigated that area?
Sure. So the two aspects to that. First of all, let's talk about the repayment aspect of the challenge. So one of the challenges you see in countries like Nigeria and Kenya, where it is pure mobile lending, right? So you're lending purely based on credit score and you're not doing any of that physical stuff, is people overborrow and cannot repay, right? And that's where the challenge comes, right? What we do is we don't do mobile lending, we do digital lending, right? And we do digital lending based on the behavior of somebody in the savings group. And we build credit products based around the behavior of somebody in a credit group. So without having to divulge too much of my secrets, the point is that you will never borrow more money than your savings group is able to repay, right? Okay. And then we build in place.
So the savings group in some way offers a form of collateral, if you will.
You got it. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how we keep that indebtedness low, because also we're using the social pressure of that savings group to make sure that you don't default. Because if you default, it affects the entire group.
So let's talk about numbers. How many clients are you servicing at the moment, and what do you project to be able to do in the next 2-3 years?
Fantastic. So we think of ourselves as a business to consumer business, right? So what that means is our direct customers are banks, insurance companies, mobile money operators, people who want to provide these kind of services to the excluded women, but don't have the technology, the know-how, the products, and so on to be able to serve these women. And we give them the platform to be able to do that. And then the business to consumer aspect are the end users, the women themselves. So currently we're in 2 countries. We have about over 6 partners across those, so direct customers, we call them partners, across those countries. And we're currently serving about 20,000 women across those 2 countries. We're hoping to get that number to 50,000 by the end of this year through a partnership with a regional bank that we're currently talking to in Kenya. And very advanced talks in Cote d'Ivoire. And also, our goal is to have 1 million women on our platform in 5 years' time. And the way we do that is through partnerships, right? So when we go into a country, we would partner with Association of Women or customers of a bank who the banks want to serve but don't have the ability to serve those women.